Yes, is my voice audible and clear to all of you? Anand, shall we start now?
Yes.
Fine. So let's continue with the discussion for GS paper 3. If you observe for the last 2 to 3 years results and marks of the toppers, GS paper 1, GS paper 2 and GS paper 3, I have seen that even topper has not crossed 120 marks in paper 1, paper 2 and paper 3. So they get the marks in a range of around 90 to 120 in GS paper 1, paper 2 and paper 3. I haven't checked the score of GS paper 4, but the way the approach which I give to you, the way I ask you to study, like do the basics and keep updated yourself with the current affairs, do the background preparation. अगर ऐसे आप करते रहेंगे और थोड़ा सा आंसर राइटिंग की प्रैक्टिस अगर आप कंटिन्यूअसली करते रहेंगे, I'm very sure that out of the 20 questions which are being asked in GS paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, at least 15 question के आंसर को आप आसानी से सॉल्व कर पाओगे. Like we have seen GS paper 1 and GS paper 2, almost 15 questions were such that you could have easily write the answer of those questions by just doing my basic classes and as well as by reading the newspaper. There are 1 or 2 questions, like in GS paper 1 there was one question with respect to the ideological differences between Mahatma Gandhi and Tagore. Then there was one question with respect to the fjords, how the fjords are formed. That was a specific question, but remaining 18 question in GS paper 2 was also very easy. Even the question paper which we have discussed in the morning today, that is GS paper 2, that was also, except barring 1 or 2 questions, around 18 to 20, 19 questions were very easy. Same is with the case of GS paper 3 as well. Those who are reading newspaper regularly, जिनके basic economic के concept, basic disaster management, security और बेसिक जो एग्रीकल्चरल इश्यू जो हैं, जिनके वो कंसेप्ट क्लियर है, उनके लिए ये क्वेश्चन पेपर वाज आल्सो वेरी इजी. I don't think not a single question is there in GS paper 3 on which we have not discussed either in basic class or in the mains class. So let's start with GS paper 3. The very first question which we have already discussed a lot in my classroom. So the question is that faster economic growth requires increased share of manufacturing sector in GDP. All of you remember, like whenever I discuss the GDP with you, I explained to you like India is having a unique feature or unique structural drawback of the Indian economy. And what is that? Anyone remember? When I discuss the Indian economy, I always say that in India is an agricultural economy. But in the last 25 years after the liberalization of the Indian economy, India has grown a lot in service sector. But manufacturing sector in India has not increased. I always say that this is the structural problem of Indian economy, right? I always say that India needs to grow in manufacturing sector. So the same thing which I have already discussed in the class, that has been asked here, like faster economic growth requires increased share of manufacturing sector in GDP. Now, can anybody tell me what is the share of agriculture and what is the share of services and what is the share of the manufacturing sector in Indian economy? I always make a triangle. मैं एक triangle बनाकर आपको pyramid बनाकर आपको मैं दिखाता रहता हूँ. Around 18% contribution is from the primary sector, around 50 to 55% contribution is from the services sector, and remaining is for the manufacturing sector. So if India needs to have a sustainable growth, a long-term growth, and India wants to become a 5 trillion economy, India wants to become a developed economy by 2047, we need to grow our manufacturing sector. So I have already told you that in the last 10 to 15 years, Indian manufacturing sector is stagnant. It has not grown. So that is what is explained here. Faster economic growth requires increased share of manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly MSME. I always discuss in my class that why micro, small, medium enterprises is an important the sector in Indian economy, because around 90% of the total goods and services which are created in India, that is from the micro, small and medium enterprises. There are so many advertisements which keeps coming in the newspaper with respect to that what government is doing for MSME sector, especially after the pandemic. Government of India has done a lot of taken initiatives for increasing the micro, small and medium enterprises in India. There were many policies and schemes which have been started in India. So question 8 पूछा गया है कि why manufacturing sector growth is much needed for the faster economic growth of India, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises. And the question is that comment on the present policies of the government in this regard. अब यहाँ पे पूछा गया comment. You need to comment on the policies of the government to focus more on manufacturing sector, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises. Now tell me, the efforts taken by the government is sufficient? Has government been successful in growing the micro, small, medium enterprises and the manufacturing sector in the recent past? Am I audible? What do you think, Anant and Omkar? The government's efforts or the government policies. There are certain policies which has been taken by the government in regard of MSME. So was it sufficient or was it having any lacunas?
Actually, government started many schemes and regularly try to increase the MSME sector or manufacturing sector. But there are some more factors in which government should focus.
Okay, can you give me 2 or 3 policies of the government with respect to increase in the manufacturing sector and micro, small and medium enterprises? मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर के ग्रोथ को बढ़ाने के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने क्या इनिशिएटिव लिया था पिछले 5-6 सालों में? एन आइडिया? वेरी गुड ओमकार. PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme, national logistics policy, Mudra scheme. We know Mudra scheme which is started by the government of India for micro, small and medium enterprises, right?
Today
इसके अलावा और क्या थे? What are the other policies which have been started by the government for manufacturing sector? Make in India है, skill development है, right? Anything else to increase the manufacturing sector in India? FDI, allowing the FDIs in India. All these are the policies which have been started by India. But अब यहाँ पे question ये पूछा गया कि you are supposed to comment on it. Comment on the present policies of the government in this regard. So whenever a question is asked to comment, you have to give your opinion. Like although you can say that the following policies have been taken by the government to increase the manufacturing sector, especially micro, small, medium enterprises. You can enlist the policies like Make in India, production linked incentive. Then we can also enlist you can say Mudra scheme. Then credit उनको दिया जा रहा है. So all these things are being taken by the government. But despite of that, there are certain issues with respect to the design and implementation of this policy. The word which is mentioned in the syllabus में ये word mention किया गया है कि various policy intervention of the government in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation. So you can use that word. Although the government has made the policies, but there are certain issues with respect to the design and implementation of these policies. तो क्यों ये policies उतना कारगर साबित नहीं हुए? Why these policies have not been able to successful in increasing the manufacturing sector in India and protecting the micro, small and medium enterprises? So that's why you are supposed to write here. When it is asked you to comment, you have to comment. Got it? It was again very easy question. Many articles have been written in Indian Express with respect to the problems of the MSMEs, with respect to the manufacturing sector in India. कैसे manufacturing sector को grow करना चाहिए, इसको लेकर Indian Express में बहुत सारे articles आए थे. अगर आपने 4-5 point लिख कर रखा होता, the issues with respect to the manufacturing sector and micro, small and medium enterprises, it would have been very easy for you to write the answer. Clear, Anand? So it clearly shows that by doing basic things and by reading current affairs, you can write the answer of the mains exam. Next question is, what is the status of digitalization of Indian economy? Do you remember I always say in the class कि one of the important success of the current government, जो एक important जो success है current government की वो है, they have been able to digitalize Indian economy to certain extent. मतलब बहुत हद तक इंडिया की इकोनॉमी को डिजिटलाइज करने में ये करंट गवर्नमेंट सक्सेसफुल हो चुकी है. So what is the status of digitalization of the Indian economy? Question is, examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest improvements. Although the Indian economy has been digitalized, but there are certain problems which are being faced by this digital economy, and they have asked you to suggest some improvement. A very simple question again, right? Next question है, GS पेपर 3 में टॉपिक है ई टेक्नोलॉजी इन द एड ऑफ फार्मर्स, एग्रीकल्चर से रिलेटेड है। क्वेश्चन है हाउ डज ई टेक्नोलॉजी हेल्प फार्मर्स इन प्रोडक्शन एंड मार्केटिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस, एक्सप्लेन इट। ऑल ऑफ यू नो ई टेक्नोलॉजी की मदद से कैसे फार्मर अपने प्रोडक्शन को बढ़ाने के लिए मदद करता है और मार्केटिंग के लिए। एनीवन रिमेंबर, वाज देयर एनी national level market scheme started by the government with respect to the marketing of agricultural produce? Syllabus में यही मेंशन किया गया ना, the issues related to the marketing of agricultural produce, buffer stock, PDS, e-technology in the aid of farmers, then issues related to the MSP, यही क्वेश्चन, यही सिलेबस में टॉपिक है। उससे रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन पूछा गया कि ई टेक्नोलॉजी फार्मर्स को कैसे मदद करती है। क्लियर? Okay, let's see it in the chat GPT, the answer of this question. How does e-technology helps farmer in production and marketing? Can you see the screen? Shaheen, Umkar, Anand, can you all see the screen? The question which I have typed in the chat GPT?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So a very simple, ये Indian Express में भी आया हुआ था, but a structured answer you can check it out here. That how does e-technology help farmer in production and marketing? Production में है precision agriculture में मदद करता है. Use of technology such as GPS etc. can help the farmer in having the precision agriculture, taking decision about planting, irrigation and fertilizer use, then crop monitoring, then automated farm equipment, then weather forecasting, then genetic engineering, like biotechnology is also there. Then marketing mein online marketplaces. Recently we have seen that Indian government has started e-NAM, e-National Agricultural Marketing शुरू किया था. There are various mobile applications, digital payments, supply chain tracking, data analytics, social media and marketing apps. So in through all this, in this way, the e-technology helps the farmer. That is what is explained here. In summary, technology has revolutionized agriculture by providing farmers with tools and information to enhance both production and marketing. It has enabled more efficient, sustainable and profitable farming practices while connecting farmers directly to the markets and reducing intermediaries and increase their income potential. तो यूएस लाइक ऑलवेज से यू नीड टू राइट 2 4 5 5 पॉइंट्स. तो प्रोडक्शन के 5 पॉइंट आपको लिखने थे कि हाउ द टेक्नोलॉजी हेल्प्स इन प्रोडक्शन एंड 5 पॉइंट्स विद रिस्पेक्ट टू हाउ टेक्नोलॉजी हेल्प्स इन मार्केटिंग. And then you have to give a conclusion. And introduction is also very beautiful. Technology plays a significant role in modern agriculture, helping farmers in both production and marketing aspects. Here is how technology benefits the farmer in these areas. Now, it's a very simple question and a simple answer you are supposed to write. So question says that how does e-technology helps farmers in production and marketing of agricultural produce? Explain it. Got it? Was it a difficult question? Very good, Omkar. Yesterday, e-Mandi and e-Agri platform has been launched by the government to make data on farmland. So if you keep reading newspaper, you will get the points. Right? Now let's move on to the next question. State the objectives and measures of land reforms in India. I have already discussed it. Land reforms in India, there are 3 to 4 important aspects of the land reforms: land ceiling, then land aggregation, then land records, then land tenancy reforms. ऐसे बहुत सारे अलग-अलग land reforms किए गए थे. State the objectives and measures of the land reforms in India. Discuss how land ceiling policy on land holding can be considered as an effective reform under economic criteria. Anyone knows what is land ceiling policy? Anand, Omkar or Shaheen, what is this land ceiling policy? Any idea about it? Land ceiling is basically, keeping some restriction on the farmers that how much land they can hold. एक सिंगल फार्मर कितनी जमीन अपने पास रख सकता है, उसको लेकर एक कानून बनाया गया था. That various states have a different, the number. Like in Maharashtra, a farmer can have max 28 of acres of land. उससे ज्यादा वो जमीन अपने नाम पर नहीं रख सकता या खरीद नहीं सकता. So this is what is called Land Ceiling Act. सीलिंग का मतलब होता है लिमिट ऑन दैट हाउ मच लैंड अ पर्सन कैन होल्ड, और जिस व्यक्ति के पास में ज्यादा लैंड सीलिंग था उस व्यक्ति को that land has been taken from them and it is been given to it has been given to the marginal farmers or landless farmers in India, right? So state what were the objectives and measures of the land reform can be considered as an effective reform under the economic criteria. मतलब इकोनॉमिक क्राइटेरिया के बेसिस पे क्या हमें लैंड सीलिंग एक्ट करना चाहिए, दैट इज व्हाट इज क्वेश्चन हैज बीन आस्क्ड. Now next question is with respect to introduce the concept of artificial intelligence, AI. AI is a buzzword, right? That's what you can say. Artificial intelligence क्या है वो पूछा गया, simple question है. How does AI help in clinical diagnosis? Clinical diagnosis में AI कैसे मदद कर सकता है in health sector? Do you perceive any threat to privacy of the individual in the use of AI in healthcare? मतलब नो जो हेल्थ केयर में जो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है क्या उससे कोई प्राइवेसी को थ्रेट है या नहीं है? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? Is there any threat to the privacy of the individual in the use of AI in the healthcare or not? Yes, Anant.
Sir, it depends on the policies. If the governments will lose the policy, then any other country like China or others can use the private data.
So you need to have proper mechanism so that this the data which is the data which is created by using this artificial intelligence will not be misused. इसका मिसयूज ना हो, इसका गलत इस्तेमाल ना हो, इसको लेकर गवर्नमेंट को पॉलिसी बनाना जरूरी है. क्या रिसेंटली गवर्नमेंट ने कोई डेटा प्रोटेक्शन से रिलेटेड कोई कानून पास किया है पार्लियामेंट में?
यस, डाटा प्राइवेसी एक्ट था.
यस, डेटा प्राइवेसी बिल पास किया गया था. इन द रिसेंट कंक्लूडेड पार्लियामेंट्री सेशन डेटा प्राइवेसी बिल पास किया गया था. सो दैट्स व्हाट यू आर सपोज्ड टू राइट हियर. यस, there could be a threat to the privacy of an individual in the use of artificial intelligence in healthcare, but government needs to make proper mechanism and proper policy to protect the data collected in this process, because ये प्राइवेसी ऑफ इंडिविजुअल को थ्रेट है, इसकी वजह से हम एआई का इस्तेमाल करना तो रोक नहीं सकते या उसको बंद नहीं कर सकते. We need to create proper checks and balances so that this data which is collected by using artificial intelligence in healthcare services is not being misused. So यही आपको explain करना है. You are supposed to write 3 parts in this question. One is you need to explain what is artificial intelligence. Then you need to explain how does AI help in clinical diagnosis. Clinical diagnosis में AI कैसे मदद करता है. So that's what you are supposed to write in 50 words. 50 words, what is artificial intelligence? 50 words, how does it help? And 50 words, do you perceive any threat to the privacy of the individual in the use of AI healthcare or not? Yes, there could be some threat, but there needs to be have a proper mechanism. तो recently government ने क्या इसको लेकर क्या गवर्नमेंट ने पॉलिसी बनाई है वो आपको लिखना है. You need to pass that government is planning. The government has already passed data protection bill in the parliamentary session. Then you need to next cyber security, and you need to have proper the institution like CERT in place so that such type of threats can be tackled in a proper way. So 150 words question hai, you could easily write 50 words on each of the topics of this question. Clear? Now next question, discuss several ways in which microorganism help in meeting the current fuel shortage. जो करंट जो फ्यूल शॉर्टेज है उसको फुलफिल करने के लिए माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म कैसे मदद कर सकता है. That's what has been asked. So recently government is planning to go for more like biodiesel, or it is planning to go for biogas. So biogas plant में microorganism can play a very important role. So artificially ये बायोटेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल करके ये जो माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स होते हैं इनका इस्तेमाल करके फ्यूल बनाने की कोशिश की जा रही है. This is again a very specific question. Those who belong to science or BSc और जिन्होंने higher studies इसमें की है, they are able to do that. But you can say ठीक है, you could write a general answer here that how micro or which microorganism. They have asked a very specific question. that which microorganism can help in meeting the current fuel shortage. So this is again a very specific question. हो सकता है may not be able to recall or you may not be knowing which microorganism specifically help in meeting the current fuel shortages. अगर ये नहीं आता तो you could skip this question. एक दो क्वेश्चन आप स्किप कर सकते हैं. क्लियर बट अंडरस्टूड. ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं मेंस एग्जाम में, ये आपको समझ में आ जाता है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज, दिस वाज अगेन अ वेरी मोस्ट एक्सपेक्टेड क्वेश्चन. जब न्यूज़पेपर में ये न्यूज आ रही थी, जब हम न्यूज़पेपर डिस्कशन कर रहे थे, तो उस समय में मैंने आपको बताया था कि इस क्वेश्चन, इस टॉपिक पे क्वेश्चन आएगा, राइट. डैम फेल्यूर्स आर ऑलवेज कैटास्ट्रोफिक, especially on the downstream side, resulting in colossal loss of life and property. Was there any dam failure in India in recent time? Yes, ओमकार अनंत, recent time में कोई dam failure हुआ था इंडिया में जिसकी वजह से there was a disaster in India. In which state this dam failure took place? It has happened in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Right?
Some in Himachal, and after that there is in Uttarakhand, Haridwar district also.
Right. Recently, 2-3 दिन पहले भी हुआ है. Not in India, but in some other country.
Yes, yes.
कहाँ हुआ है वो? Because अब यहाँ पे जो क्वेश्चन पूछा है, this question is not with respect to India. It's a general question. Dam failures are always catastrophic, especially on the downstream side, resulting in colossal loss of life and property. So analyze the various causes of dam failures. Give 2 examples of large dam failure. So just 2 days, 2 दिन पहले का क्वेश्चन है. लीबिया में जो डैम फेलियर हुआ था, लीबिया में around 10,000 people have died because of this dam failure in Libya, right? तो उस समय में ये डिस्कशन किया गया था कि what are the causes of the dam failures, and give 2 examples of large dam failures. So you could give the example of Libya, you could give the example of Chamoli. Clear? Now let's move on to the next question. What is the oil pollution? Oil pollution क्या होता है? What are its impacts on the maritime ecosystem? जो समंदर में या सी में जो ऑयल पोल्यूशन होता है, उसका इकोसिस्टम पे क्या असर होता है? In what way is oil pollution particularly harmful for a country like India? Because GS paper 2 में हमने देखा था कि there was one question with respect to the role played by IMO, International Meteorological Organization, in protecting the sea ecological. So that's what you can see, that in what way is oil pollution particularly harmful for a country like India? Next, you got this question? Fine. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 9. Winning the hearts of minds in terrorism affected areas is an essential step in restoring the trust of population. So, when I was discussing the issue of the terrorism or the issue of the militancy and insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir, we have discussed about it. That how to the hearts and the minds of the people in Jammu and Kashmir, right? So, winning the hearts and minds in terrorism affected areas is an essential step in restoring the trust of the population. Discuss the measures adopted by the government in this respect as the part of conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir. Anyone knows what measures have been taken by the government to win the hearts and minds of the people of the Jammu and Kashmir? Shahid, what do you think? Or what initiatives have been taken by the government to win the hearts and minds of the people of the Jammu and Kashmir? कोई स्टेप गवर्नमेंट ने लिया है या नहीं लिया आपके हिसाब से?
Sir, honestly speaking, I don't think ऐसा कुछ हुआ है.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ है, ठीक है. But still, कुछ ऐसे measures हैं जो गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा लिए गए थे. One these, 5 to 6 years back, some interlocutors were sent by Manmohan Singh government, not during this Narendra Modi government, but during Manmohan Singh government. 3 interlocutors have been sent to Jammu and Kashmir, and उसके अलावा भी रिसेंटली गवर्नर्स के द्वारा भी एक इनिशिएटिव लिया गया था. रिसेंटली उन्हें एक ऑल पार्टी मीटिंग ऐसे भी बुलाई गई थी जिसमें मनमोहन अमित शाह वगैरह भी आए थे उस समय में, Although people have not, people of Jammu and Kashmir have not responded it in a positive way, or they have not considered that this effort is being taken by the government in an honest way. But some initiatives have been taken by the government to win the hearts and minds of the people. It's a different fact that it was not successful. अब यहाँ पर वही पूछा है कि discuss the measures adopted by the government in respect of as a part of the conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir recently. तो पिछले कुछ दिनों से गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ किया था ना, certainly आर्टिकल 370 स्क्रैप होने के बाद में से तो और ज्यादा वहां पे प्रॉब्लम हो चुके हैं, या और ज्यादा इश्यू, the people of the Jammu and Kashmir are not happy with the central government. But yes, some measures have been adopted by the government in this respect to conflict the resolution in Jammu and Kashmir. Let's see it in ChatGPT. What answer is the ChatGPT gives with respect. जो मुझे याद आ रहा है वो मैंने बताया है. रिसेंटली मुझे लगता है अराउंड 2 to 3 months बैक इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने वहां पर कुछ किया था जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में. मेजर्स टेकन बाय GOI. What is the question? Government as a part of the conflict resolution. Conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, they have given certain points here. One is that repeal of Article 317(35)(a). As per ChatGPT, repeal of 317(35)(e) is a efforts taken by the government to conflict resolution, bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir, security measures, then developmental initiatives in this region, especially in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and job creation. Political reconciliation efforts have been made to restore political process in the region. Local elections were held in Jammu and Kashmir, allowing the formation of local governments and participation of political parties in the democratic process. Outreach programs that to engage with the local population, understand their grievances and address their concern. Human rights and justice. The government has emphasized in the importance of human rights and justice in the region. Measures have been taken to investigate and address allegations of human rights violations. Initiatives have been launched to provide justice to the victims. And cross-border relations. The government of India sought to address the issues of cross-border terrorism by engaging diplomatically with neighboring countries, especially Pakistan. Dialogue and negotiations have been attempted to reduce tension and promote peace in the region. It is important to note that the situation in Jammu and Kashmir is complex, with various stakeholders and historical grievances involved. The effectiveness of these measures in achieving long-term conflict resolution remains subject of debate and ongoing evaluation. तो लास्ट में आप जो कह रहे हो ना शाइन कि एज पर यू मतलब कुछ नहीं हुआ है, तो लास्ट पॉइंट में ये लिखा है, यू कैन कंक्लूड इन दिस वे दैट द इफेक्टिवनेस ऑफ दिस मेजर्स in achieving long-term conflict resolution remains a subject of debate and ongoing evaluation. Additionally, the situation may have evolved since my last update, so it is crucial to refer to the latest development for comprehensive understanding of the current state of the affairs in the region. So that's what is you need to conclude in this. Got it? So ऐसे आंसर आपको एग्जाम में लिखने होते हैं. Just need to use some presence of mind. Whatever you read in newspaper, वो आपको यहाँ पर ऐड करना होता है. Is it clear? The next question: the use of unmanned aerial vehicle, which is called EUAVs, by our adversaries across the borders to ferry the arms and ammunition, drugs, etc., is a serious threat to internal security. Comment on the measures being taken to tackle this threat. हमने देखा था न्यूज़पेपर में selected articles आए थे. ये unmanned aerial vehicles have been found in some of the border areas like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir. Even in the areas like Himachal Pradesh and Myanmar, यहाँ पर बहुत सारे ऐसे AOVs find किए गए थे. So what measures are being taken by the government to tackle this threat? इसको लेकर मुझे लगता है अमित शाह ने कुछ कॉन्फ्रेंस भी लिया था, DGP's conference to tackle this threat. So the question has been asked from that article, which has been written in Indian Express. The next question: most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. India में जो unemployment है, that is because of the structural problem of the Indian economy. GS paper 3, I think 3rd or 4th topic, growth, development and employment का topic है. Most of the unemployment in India, मुझे लगता है few days back only there was an article in Indian Express with respect to growth and development in India, right? उसमें लिखा गया था most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature, examining the methodology adapted to compute unemployment in the country and suggest improvement. एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, एक इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट डेटा को पब्लिश करता है और उस डेटा को लेकर कुछ कंट्रोवर्सी भी होती है. एनीवन रिमेंबर? उसके डेटा को लेकर कंटिन्यूअसली न्यूज़पेपर में भी डिस्कस किया जाता है. Which organization publishes the data with respect to the unemployment in India? Any idea about it? Yes, Omkar, you are right. Recently, the government of India has conducted a G20 meeting in Jammu and Kashmir. Recently, जो G20 की एक मीटिंग भी वहां पर हो गई थी to win the heart of the people of the Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, CMIEA का एक डेटा होता है. That data is is used for declaring the unemployment in India. But उसको लेकर कुछ डिबेट है कि जो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट वाकई में इंडिया में है या नहीं है. सुरजीत बल्ला के आर्टिकल्स आते रहते हैं इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में. डू यू रिमेंबर दैट? सुरजीत बल्ला सेज दैट कि इंडिया में अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं है, बट some people contest the claim of the government that there is no unemployment in India. So that is what is mentioned here. Most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. Examine the methodology which has been adopted to compute unemployment. इंडिया में अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट को कंप्यूट करने के लिए जो मेथोडोलॉजी इस्तेमाल की जाती है उसको कैसे किया जाता है उसको एग्जामिन करना था. एंड सजेस्ट द इंप्रूवमेंट्स इन द मेथोडोलॉजी ऑफ कंप्यूटिंग द अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट इन इंडिया. क्लियर? Got a question? The next question is distinguish between care economy and monetized economy. How can care economy be brought into monetized economy through women empowerment? Women empowerment के द्वारा monetized, like ये monetized economy, Indian Express में articles आया था, सभी लोगों को याद है? Whatever activities which are being done by the women at home, that is not monetarily calculated. वो उसका कैलकुलेशन नहीं होता है. So how a care economy can be brought into monetized economy through women empowerment. तो women empowerment के द्वारा इस monetized economy में कैसे कन्वर्ट किया जा सकता है, that is what is mentioned. So many articles have been written in Indian Express with respect to that how the women's activities are not monetized. उसको कैलकुलेशन में नहीं किया जा सकता है. Clear? Question number 13. Explain the changes in cropping patterns in India. I have always discussed about it. Can anybody tell me what are the factors responsible for the change in the cropping pattern in India recent time? मैंने डिस्कस किया था cropping pattern. अशोक गुलाटी के articles. Many articles have been written in Indian Express with respect to the change in the cropping pattern in India. Which crops India में बहुत ज़्यादा grow होते हैं? Do you remember? Sugarcane, rice, wheat. These are the crops which are grown more in India. The reasons for that is MSP, as well as market forces, as well as you can say कि government FRP declare करता है कुछ plants के लिए. That is one of the important the factors which is responsible for the change in the cropping pattern in India. In the context of changes in consumption pattern and marketing conditions. उससे related एक question पूछा गया है. Many articles have been written in Indian Express with respect to the change in cropping pattern by the Ashok Gulati. उसमें से कोई भी एक आर्टिकल आपने अगर लिखा पढ़ा होता उसके पॉइंट्स बनाए होते, it would have been very easy for you to write the answer. Right, Omkar? We have discussed a lot that change in the cropping pattern क्यों हो रहा है इंडिया. Clear? Now next question number 14. What are the direct and indirect subsidies provided to the farm sector in India? A very direct question. GS paper 3 में topic है. For direct and indirect farm subsidies in India. Can anybody tell me which are direct farm subsidies and indirect farm subsidies? Anand, farm subsidies कौन से होते हैं जो डायरेक्टली दिया जाता है फार्मर्स को?
I think like Kisan Credit Card Yojana. That will
direct farm subsidies.
be.
Is fertilizer subsidy a part of farm subsidy?
Yes, sir.
The subsidy which is given on fertilizer.
But it will be indirect, no, sir.
It is direct. That's what I'm asking to you. Direct farm subsidies.
Yes.
Direct farm subsidy